Today we're doing Module 5, Lesson 23. The objective is to generate simple equivalent fractions by using visual models and the number line. Last time we really focused on the visual models. This time we're going to focus on the number line. The materials needed for today are your online whiteboard or your whiteboard dry erase marker and dry eraser. And you may want your fraction strips out again to help you reference the equivalent fractions. The teaching style we're going to follow is where I do it, we do it together, and you do it on your own. Let's look at the first example. Use the number lines to find the equivalent fractions. So remember, equivalent fractions means fractions that are worth the same thing. So we're looking at our number line and we need to find a place that has two fractions that are the same. First, let's figure out what fractions we're dealing with. If you look at our denominators, we have a denominator of 2 and a denominator of 4. So if you wanted to get out your fraction strips, you would need the ones that are broken into 2 pieces and the one that's broken into 4 pieces. Okay. You don't have to get those out yet because I'm going to show you how the example works first. But if you had them out, we'd be looking for a place where the fractions are the same. So if you look at the fourths, there's a fraction here, but there's nothing up here that lines up with it. If you look at the next line, the 2/4, and you look right above it, the 1/2 lines up with it exactly. Okay, they come to the same spot on the number line, so they take up the same amount of space. So what we would say is 1/2 is equivalent to 2/4. If we're looking at that on our fraction strip, 1/2, or 1 out of 2 pieces, is the same as 2/4, or 2 out of 4 pieces. And you can see the same thing on the fraction strips, that they line up, they come to the same spot. Okay, so equivalent fractions will always come to the same spot on the number line. Let's go ahead and have you do one with me. You don't have to draw the number lines on your whiteboard because that'll take a little bit. But I do want you to pay attention to the denominator. We have denominators of 4 and denominators of 6. So if you wanted to get out your fraction strips, you'd need the one that's broken into 4 pieces. And you would need the one that's broken into 6 pieces. Okay, now I want you on your whiteboard to start drawing your solution. So we need a fraction line, equals, and another fraction line. We already know that one of our denominators is 4 and one of our denominators is 6. The denominator doesn't change, so we can fill those in. But now I need you to look at the numerators. Look at the number line and figure out which 2 fractions line up at the same spot on the number line. Once you see which ones do, go ahead and write that on your whiteboard. Okay, so let's take a look. If we look at the 1/6, nothing lines up with it. Nothing lines up with the 1/4. Nothing lines up with the 2/6. But then when we get here, right in the middle, we can see that the 2/4 and the 3/8 line up. I'm sorry, the 3/6 are in the same spot. They line up perfectly, which means they are equivalent. So I'm going to fill in this fraction for my answer, 2/4, and this fraction for my answer, 3/6. So 2/4 is equal to 3/6. If you're looking at your fraction strip, you'd see that 2/4, or 2 out of 4 pieces, and 3/6, 3 out of 6 pieces, come to the same spot. They are equivalent. Okay, let's take a look at another example. What I want you to do is just go ahead and set up on your whiteboard fractions equal to another fraction. You look at our denominators, we have a denominator of 6 and a denominator of 3. So if you're getting out your fraction strip, you need the one broken into 6th, and you need the one broken into thirds. I'll give you just a moment to get all that ready. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to fill in your answer here, seeing which fractions are equal to each other. So looking on the number line, which fractions line up in the same spot. And I'll give you just a moment to find that, fill in the answer, and then we'll check it with mine. Okay, so here's what you might have noticed. 2/6 and 1/3 come to the same spot on the number line. So you might have wrote 2/6 is equal to 1/3. On our fraction strips, 2 out of 6 pieces, or 2/6, is the same as 1/3. But you might have also written another fraction. You might have looked over here and seen that 4/6 and 2/3 also line up at the same spot. So you could have also written that 4/6 equals 2/3. So there were two different sets of equivalent fractions on this one. On our fraction strips, that would be 4/6 being equal to 2/3. Okay, so there were 2 correct answers on that one. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at what your homework's going to be. On Excel skill W4, find equivalent fractions using number lines. So you can see it says use the number lines to find a pair of equivalent fractions between 0 and 1. It gives you the 2 number lines, and then you have to fill in the fractions that are equivalent. So in this case, 1/2 and 2/4 are equivalent fractions because they come to the same spot on the number line. Go ahead and get started.